The notification sound from my banking app cut through the quiet of the university library. I glanced at my phone, expecting to see my usual balance, the $48,000 I'd been carefully monitoring as medical school acceptance letters started arriving. Instead, the screen showed $127.43. For a moment, my brain refused to process it. I refreshed the app. Same number. I checked the transaction history, and there it was. A single transfer dated 3 days ago. $47,872.57 to an account I didn't recognize. My fingers went numb around my phone. My name is Rachel, I'm 22, and I'm a pre-med student. This is the story of how I learned that family loyalty has a price tag, and mine was exactly $48,000. I'd started building that fund when I was 14, depositing birthday checks from my grandmother, wages from weekend shifts at the campus bookstore, scholarship stipends I didn't immediately need, 8 years of saving while my older brother Marcus lived off my parents' credit cards and vague promises to figure things out. But Marcus was charming. Marcus had potential. Marcus needed support while he found himself. I called my parents from the library parking lot, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. "Oh, honey," my mom said when I told her about the empty account. "We were going to tell you this weekend. Marcus got into some trouble with the wrong people. Gambling debts. Your father and I had to act fast. You took my money." The words felt strange in my mouth, like I was speaking a language I'd just learned, without asking me, without even telling me. "Marcus could have been seriously hurt," my dad cut in on speakerphone. "These people don't mess around. We did what we had to do to protect our son." "What about protecting me? I start medical school in 4 months. That money was my living expenses." "You'll figure it out," my mom said, her voice taking on that familiar dismissive tone. "You always do. You're responsible. Marcus isn't built that way." I sat in my car for an hour after that call, staring at my phone. A text from Marcus appeared. "Thanks for bailing me out, sis. I owe you big time. Literally, LL." He didn't even know they'd stolen from me. They'd let him think I'd volunteered my entire future to save him. The next morning, I drove to Pioneer Bank, where I'd held my account since I was 15. Mrs. Patricia Walsh, the branch manager, had watched me grow up through regular deposits and careful budgeting. She took one look at my face and ushered me into her office. "Rachel, I tried calling you," she said, pulling up my account. "Something about that transfer didn't sit right with me. Your parents had joint access from when you opened the account as a minor, but look at this." She turned her monitor toward me. Below the massive transfer were dozens of smaller ones going back 6 months. $50 here, $100 there, always small enough to avoid triggering alerts. My stomach dropped. "That's not all," Patricia continued, her voice dropping. "The receiving account isn't registered to your brother. It's linked to an offshore LLC in the Cayman Islands. Rachel, I've been in banking for 25 years. This looks like money laundering, and you might be the vehicle they're using." The fluorescent lights suddenly felt too bright. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying your brother's gambling debts might be real, but your money didn't go to pay them off." She slid a business card across her desk. "My college roommate works for the FBI Financial Crimes Division. I think you need to talk to her before this gets worse." I drove home in a daze, Patricia's words replaying in my mind. At dinner that night, my parents acted like nothing had happened. My father discussed his consulting business. My mom talked about redecorating the living room. Marcus texted that he'd be home for the weekend to properly thank me. I excused myself to my childhood bedroom and stared at the FBI agent's card. Special Agent Linda Morrison. I typed out a text 3 times before finally sending it. "Patricia Walsh gave me your number. I think my parents are using my bank account for something illegal." Her response came in under a minute. "Can you meet tomorrow? Don't tell your parents." We met at a coffee shop 2 towns over. Agent Morrison was younger than I expected, maybe early 40s, with sharp eyes that seemed to catalog everything. She reviewed the bank documents I'd brought, her expression growing more serious with each page. "Your parents have been running a sophisticated money laundering operation," she said finally. "They're using your clean financial history to move money without raising flags. The gambling debt story is cover. Your brother probably doesn't even know the real operation." "What do I do?" Go home. Act normal. We'll need you to gather more evidence. But Rachel, I need you to understand something. Once we move on this, your family goes to federal prison. All of them, depending on what we find. I thought about my empty college fund, about 8 years of sacrifices, about being called responsible, while they plan to use me as their criminal shield. What do you need me to do? Over the next 3 days, back at my apartment, Agent Morrison walked me through setting up a new secured account, installing monitoring software on my devices, and preparing for what she called the family dinner. Marcus was coming home, and my parents were planning something. They're going to try to pull you in deeper, Morrison warned, make you complicit. Once you're involved in the operation, you can't testify against them. It's their insurance policy. I drove to my parents' house Friday evening. Marcus arrived 2 hours late wearing a watch I knew cost more than my entire semester's tuition. He hugged me like we were in a movie. My hero sister, I knew I could count on you. Over my mom's homemade lasagna, served on the china reserved for special occasions, my father cleared his throat. Rachel, we've been talking to some business associates. They're impressed by your academic record, your clean financial history. They'd like to offer you an opportunity. What kind of opportunity? Marcus jumped in. It's brilliant, actually. Once you're a licensed physician, you'll have access to medical billing systems, legitimate business transactions. You could process certain payments through your practice. Small stuff, nothing that would raise flags. The recording device in my purse captured every word. Agent Morrison had walked me through activating it before I left my apartment. You want me to launder money through my medical practice, I said flatly. My mom touched my hand. Sweetheart, don't be dramatic. We're talking about smart financial planning. These people could make your student loans disappear. You could have the life you deserve. I pulled out the folder they'd given me earlier, the one I'd already photographed and sent to Morrison. Inside were incorporation documents for a shell company registered in my name, dated 6 months ago. They'd been planning this long before they took my college fund. You've been using my identity for months, I said, my voice shaking. You didn't take my money because Marcus needed it. You took it to test me, to see if I'd stay quiet. My father's expression hardened. We've given you everything. A roof over your head, food, education. This is how family works, Rachel. We support each other. Support? I stood up, anger finally breaking through the shock. You stole from me. You've been committing fraud in my name. You're threatening my entire future. Marcus moved toward the door, blocking it. Sit down, Rachel. Let's talk about this rationally. Get out of my way. You're already involved, my father said quietly. Those documents in your name, you can't just walk away from this. If we go down, you go down with us. I pulled out my phone, watching their faces. No, I won't, because I've been recording everything for the past 3 days. The FBI has copies of every document, every transaction, every word you've said. The color drained from my mother's face. You're blaming. You're insane, Marcus said. We're your family. Family doesn't use each other as criminal shields, I said, moving toward the door. Family doesn't steal 8 years of someone's life savings and call it support. My father stood slowly, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in his eyes. Rachel, think about what you're doing. You send us to prison, you destroy this family. You destroyed this family the moment you decided I was more valuable as a patsy than as a daughter. I walked out, got in my car, and sent the signal to Agent Morrison. I'm clear. The FBI arrived at my parents' house an hour later. I wasn't there for it. Morrison thought it would be too dangerous, but she called me afterward with the details. Your father tried to destroy his phone, she said. Too late. Your mother attempted to delete files from their home computer. We recovered everything. Marcus actually tried to run out the back door. There were agents waiting. What happens now? Now, federal indictment. Money laundering, fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. Your recordings were perfect. The case is airtight. I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow. The next 3 months were a blur of depositions, court appearances, and therapy sessions. Patricia helped me navigate recovering what was left of my money, though forensic accountants discovered my parents had already moved most of it through various shell companies. I got back about $31,000, enough for my first year. Patricia checked in with me regularly during those months, and though our relationship would never be quite the same after everything that happened, I was grateful to have someone who understood what I'd been through. She attended my white coat ceremony that August, one of the few familiar faces in the crowd. My father's trial came first in early July. He got 12 years. My mother got 8. Marcus, who genuinely hadn't known the full scope of the operation, got 3 for his role in recruiting me, the judge called it. A stunning betrayal of parental duty and the exploitation of familial trust for criminal gain. During sentencing, I learned that my parents' marriage hadn't survived the investigation. They'd filed for divorce while awaiting trial, each blaming the other for involving me. Even their partnership had been transactional. Medical school started in August. I funded it through federal loans, a part-time research position, and what remained of my recovered savings. Sometimes I'd see my classmates studying together, complaining about their parents calling too much, asking for too much involvement in their lives. I'd think about how I'd give anything for that kind of problem. My mother wrote me letters for the first 6 months after her sentencing. She'd somehow obtained my medical school address, probably through a private investigator or from courthouse documents where my address appeared on official filings. Long explanations about how they'd only wanted to secure my future, how I'd understand when I was older, how she forgave me. I stopped opening them after her lawyer tried to use my reconciliation correspondence to argue for a reduced sentence. My father sent one letter 3 weeks after sentencing, also finding my address through legal documentation from the case. No explanations, no justifications, just a newspaper clipping of my white coat ceremony that Patricia had sent him at his request, wanting me to know someone still cared. He'd written in the margin, "Stronger than I gave you credit for." I keep that clipping in my desk drawer at school, not because I forgive him, but because it reminds me that strength isn't about keeping quiet when the people you love hurt you. It's about refusing to let their choices destroy your future. My grandmother passed away 2 months after the arrests. I'd tried calling her to explain what happened, but she wouldn't take my calls. She never understood why I'd turned on the family. I wasn't able to attend her funeral, not with my parents' associates still potentially out there. That loss stays with me in ways the others don't. Last month, I got my first-year grades, 3.9 GPA, top 15% of my class. I'm on track for the residency I want, funded by loans I'll spend a decade repaying, but loans I took out honestly, in my own name for my own future. Marcus gets out next year. He sent me a letter last week, having gotten my address from the same legal records my parents accessed. He's asking if we could rebuild our relationship when he's released. I haven't responded. I don't know if I will. Sometimes, late at night when I'm studying, I think about that moment in the library when I saw my empty account. How my first instinct was to trust that my parents had a good reason. How badly I wanted to believe that family meant something more than transactions and utility. I learned that family, real family, doesn't require you to sacrifice your future to cover for their crimes. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is refuse to be anyone's accomplice, even when they share your last name. The hardest part? I'm still angry. Not at what they did, but at how long it took me to see it. The small withdrawals had been going on for months. Part of me knew something was wrong, but I ignored it because they were my family. And family deserves the benefit of the doubt. Here's what I wish someone had told me before everything fell apart. Your instincts are valid, even when they're about the people who raised you. Documentation isn't paranoia, it's protection. And choosing yourself over family loyalty isn't selfish when that loyalty is being weaponized against you. If you're reading this and something feels wrong, trust that feeling. If someone's using your identity, your accounts, your trust to build something you can't see, ask questions. Demand answers. And if those answers don't add up, find someone who can help you see the truth. My story isn't about revenge. It's about refusing to be collateral damage in someone else's criminal enterprise, even when that someone raised you, fed you, and told you they loved you. The system that was supposed to protect me, my parents, my family, failed. But the system that exists to stop financial crimes worked exactly as it should when I finally trusted it more than I trusted the people who stole from me. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might help someone else find the courage to act. Subscribe for more honest conversations about the difficult moments that change everything.